Hello and welcome back to Break Panel Sports. I know. Everybody's been asking where we are, obviously. Joel is here. I am here.
Hello.
And we are here to talk about some good old free agency, some of the good stuff, some All-Star Weekend stuff that we have thought up. Okay? Usual Break Panel Sports episode. But it's been interesting. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a fun time. Joel, first off, how are you?
After that All-Star game,
Not
like
good?
it's
Not feeling
life
too good
ain't
about
too,
yourself?
life ain't too great right now when your own athletes that you watch day in and day out don't even care about their own sport anymore.
Yeah. Um, so we're just gonna we just have some thoughts about the All-Star game. And a lot of people not happy about it, not happy about the dunk contest. I will say I'm happy about the three-point contest. That
The three
worked
point,
out. That was
yeah,
awesome.
the Steph versus Sabrina, that was great.
That
That
was
was awesome.
one of the best things sports has provided for us in a while, right? That was a really cool event. And it was one of those things, I think JJ Redick said a good point. It was like they both had a lot to lose, not a lot to gain, and they still both found a way to come out as champions. Right? That was just
Yeah,
such a good moment for basketball. But when it comes to the dunk contest, I think the thing was the dunk contest, nothing new, right? Jalen Brown, it was cool to have a star back in the dunk contest. Jalen Brown kind of performed. They somehow
not
sent him to the
really.
end. Jacob Toppin should have got further. But also, do I really want Jacob Toppin and Mac McClung to be my dunk contest final? Is that what we want?
See, John, here's the thing. Like, we used to watch Blake Griffin jump over cars.
No,
The
don't bring
other,
that up. Do not bring that up
no,
because when
we
Blake
saw.
Griffin jumped over a car, everyone said it was stupid.
Because
Everyone
but
hated
here's the
that
thing.
dunk.
But here's the thing. Jalen Brown, he jumped over a guy. John, you've met me personally.
Yes,
I'm taller than him,
you are taller than Kai Cenat, yeah.
and he was sitting down. For those that don't know, I'm a very short guy, but I am taller than Kai Cenat. Like, if you're jumping over me, that's not that impressive.
Yeah.
That's not that impressive.
Here's the thing. Kai Cenat is taller than what Blake Griffin jumped over, the hood of the car.
But it was still elongated though. He still had a long ways to go.
Well, you
He
had
had
the
like what?
chair. You had the chair.
Yeah, well, he had a chair.
The Blake Griffin dunk was not impressive. It was a whole thing.
Okay, but
Everybody hated it.
Mac McClung, he cleared Shaq. I ain't gonna lie. That
Here's
he
my
cleared
thing with
him.
that. Sure, he cleared Shaq. Every dunk contest, we bring out Shaq.
Why can't? Okay, yeah, that's another thing I was gonna
It's
bring
every
up.
dunk contest. Shaq is
Why we?
involved somehow.
I don't know who the first guy was that brought out Shaq, but like
Jaime
everyone's
Jaquez
copying
brought
the.
out Shaq. This year, there were two guys that brought out Shaq.
Yeah,
Is Shaq getting paid for this? He's
he
working
should be.
overtime at the dunk contest. They got him with the camera. That's sponsored, so he is getting paid. Sorry, the sponsors probably said, "Hey, you have to do a dunk with Shaq so we can get the Shaq cam." And Jaime Jaquez fell casualty to the Shaq cam. So the dunk contest has all the sponsorships. That was the key was a sponsored dunk. They pay the NBA,
Yeah,
have Blake Griffin jump over our car, and that'll work.
I think they cared more about Sparry than they actually did, like the actual contest.
Yeah, star. Oh
Like
my God,
with the green courts,
it's too much. It's too much green and
that
yellow.
was weird. Like it was the green and yellow courts with the green and yellow ball, and they had like the light, like they had like green lights or whatever that were. I don't know if you noticed, they were like shining onto the court to like enhance
Yeah,
already the
they had
court
green
that they had that was already
LEDs
green,
as
the
a
already
starry
LED
hater.
lights.
Listen, imagine if that was Sierra Mist still, and they would have had like light blue lights or something stupid. Starry, I guess Starry was a good brand change to get, the NBA stuff, but it's not a good beverage. It's really not. I don't know. Have you had has anybody had Starry before? I had it once.
I've never.
You never had it? I had it one time. It's just Sierra
How is it?
Mist. It's
Is it just like Sierra Mist?
no, it is Sierra Mist. It's the same exact thing. It's the same exact thing. So I'm not very
Yeah, I never
impressed by
cared
it.
for it.
Sprite, better. Okay. What's that stuff called? Seven
Sprite
Up.
better. McDonald's
Seven Up.
Sprite better.
Seven Up's better. Okay. I
I
would
like Seven
rather
Up.
have bad ginger ale than drink Starry. All right.
I would have ginger ale. I was gonna say ginger ale. Yeah, I'd rather have
We
ginger
just
ale.
killed any potential Pepsi sponsorship, but that's fine. Um,
But
so
we
yeah, so
gained one in ginger ale.
we gained one in ginger ale. Canada Dry, Dr Pepper Keurig. What you got? You got a check? You got a check for us? We just had a TikTok. Good views, okay? Please. No. So when it comes to that, I think we all knew the we're kind of at this point we've accepted the dunk contest stinks because we've done every dunk that's humanly possible that NBA players are willing to do, right? Mac McClung, he did a new dunk which was catching the ball in midair and throwing it back behind his head. That
Yeah,
was
that was
cool.
kind of cool.
That was a pretty good dunk. Jacob Toppin. This is what I knew well, I knew already, but I knew this year's dunk contest was cooked. Jacob Toppin does a 360 through the leg slam, and nobody's impressed by it.
Yeah, no one cared. No one cared about
if
that
if
at
he
all.
did that dunk 10 years ago, he's like, this is the most memorable dunk contest of all time. Kenny Smith is
Yeah.
yelling, "It's over, ladies and gentlemen," because of that dunk. And no, that's just we've seen that before. I think the IG dunker has ruined the dunk contest because well, yes, I can see Michael Jordan do a really cool dunk, but Jordan Kilgannon just threw the ball onto the ground, no look, slammed it behind his head because he got the chance to attempt it 17 times. He's also just really impressive. So the social media hater and the IG dunker has ruined the dunk contest. Irreparable damage. It is over. So I don't know how to fix it. And the one thing I really don't know how to fix, Joel, the All-Star game itself, which I think was much worse than the dunk contest,
Do,
because the dunk contest at least had something funny about it, and the,
you
and
want me
the
to be
All-Star
honest with
game was
you?
just no effort. Yeah,
You want me to be honest with you? Like, I didn't watch it. I did not watch the All Star game
I watched a
because
little bit of it.
because here's the thing. I watched last year's. Okay,
Yeah,
last year's dunk contest. Not dunk contest. Well, that's sucked too. But the All Star game. That was a 3-point shooting contest again.
yeah.
That's all it was. Guys were shooting from half court. That's really all it was. And then I didn't watch it because I'm like, it's gonna be the same thing. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be the exact same thing. And what happened? They broke a record for 3-pointers attempted in an All-Star game. They broke the record.
They break it
You
every
know,
year.
it was like 168 or something like that, 3-point shots attempted.
Something. Yeah, they
And
break it every
I
year.
I I saw a video where like Luca like I don't know if you saw it where he kind of just chucked the ball from half court and
He
like
was
it
trying to
just
get. He was trying
totally
to get a 2 for 1. He was trying to get a 2 for 1. Make the half court shot, and then
come
get
on,
a stop,
man.
get the ball back.
Everyone's they don't care. They don't care about this game at all. There's no incentives. You want to know how I think we should fix it? I think we should just get rid of it. I think at least a lot of like listen, the NFL they're already trying to get rid of the Pro Bowl game.
Yeah,
Okay? Like they turned that into flag football cuz nobody wants to get hurt. And
right.
there I think it counts for a lot of sports where just the All-Star games, a Pro Bowl game, no one cares about it anymore. It's just not that big of a deal as it used to be.
Here's my thing, and something that I've kind of been thinking about, and a lot of people will complain about the All-Star game. Will sit there and say, "Oh, it's not fun. I don't. They don't play hard anymore." And to me, I don't really have a problem with it. I get why they don't want to do it, why they don't want to play in the game, because the game, again, it doesn't matter. So, why am I going to put my body on the line? I guess, yes, it would be great for the game. It would be great for marketing. It would be great for it. Could, you would get better sponsorships if more people watch the game, if it was a competitive game. But doing the whole, people were saying, oh, you should go back to, which wasn't a thing in the NBA. Whoever wins the game gets home court in the finals, which was what the
No
MLB did.
way.
MLB got rid of
I
that.
I
So
wouldn't do that.
there's no reason to make it competitive, right? Why does it matter if Tyrese Halliburton wants to go at Luka Doncic? They don't. Nobody wants to do that. Guys like each other, and that this is kind of the consequence of it. Is you care about getting into the All Star game, but you don't care about playing in the All Star game. The honor is being selected, not being an All Star. So I think we should just again. I agree. Do away with the All Star game, but let's do like the NHL changed it so there's a bunch of they don't just do right. They have like a kind of a knockout round style tournament thing going on, I
Like
believe. I don't.
skills challenge.
Well, no, they do a game, but they have this group of five. They have this group of five. They have this group of like. There's four different teams, quote unquote. So it's kind of like a knockout round. So what I would do is like either do King of the Court do 3-on-3s, do a tournament of 3-on-3s, have Luca and Jokic play in a 3-on-3 tournament, and 2-on-2 tournament, 3-on-3 tournament, and they just go back and
I was
forth.
gonna say 2v2s. I
Yeah,
was gonna say 2v2s.
2v2s, 3-on-3s,
Like
right? If I have Jalen
I
Brown
was
and
gonna
Jason
say
Tatum, have them play with each other, right?
if it's gonna be like a pickup game, it should be like your point and your big, or your wing and your big, your small and your big,
Or
and
just
just
whoever. I
going.
mean, you could have LeBron
That's what
and
I think it should
Steph.
be.
You could have LeBron and Steph. Imagine them playing a 2-on-2 against Luca and Jokic. Not like they'd care. Um, but let's just imagine that this made them care. Put some money on the line with it or something. Put some sort of incentive as to winning each round, as to getting further in the round, right? I'm not saying home court, but maybe however much money you want to put out there. I don't know. The dunk contest is fine. It's just I think it's just a casualty of advancement in time. But the All-Star game, just you don't have to do a game, right? You can do something different. I think it would be fun if you did something different. If you did 2-on-2s, 3-on-3 tournaments, that would be pretty cool. I'm for King of the Court, right? King of the Court between East and
That could be
West,
cool.
have it go on, and then the winner from the West plays the winner from the East in a game to 21. Let's do that. Why not? There's ways to fix it. I don't think the NBA will fix it. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. It'll be weird. But Joel, it's kind of cooked.
What I was thinking, I mean, King of the Court, I do like that idea. Why don't we involve every single team? Like I mean, but I what I mean is every single team, like you pick your best player, or at least like at least like the top like 12 teams or from each conference, whatever it
Yeah.
is that you want to be to like make it even. But I'd say pick your best player that in a 1v1.
Well,
Like
because
that's why.
the actual selection to be an all-star still matters.
Oh
That's
no, I agree,
really
but
what.
like you see guys in like the skills challenges that like they're technically part of All-Star weekend. They're not
Yeah, they're
All-Stars.
not all-stars, yeah. You could do that.
That's
Three-point
what I mean. Like
yeah, Lowry's
something
not an
something like
all-star.
that, just so like there's some competitiveness there. Like listen, what was the benefit of winning the in-season tournament? What was the benefit of that? I don't think there was much. I mean, there was like a little bit of a bonus there,
I think it
but
was like $1 million.
major but I'm saying majority of those guys, they don't care. Like, you think LeBron, you think Anthony Davis cares? Like, they don't really care all that much. But like the in-season tournament, I don't think there was much of it. We were debating for like weeks. Like, what's the point of this? What's
That
the point
actually,
of?
the
I
NCAA
don't.
tournament actually worked out really well, I think.
No, I'm saying no. I'm not saying
Guys
it didn't
cared
work
about
out.
that.
I don't think a lot of guys did.
They were
I
the
don't
more
think
they were the
I don't
most
think
entertaining games of the season.
I don't think a lot of guys understood what it was.
No, a lot of guys
I don't
didn't
think a lot
understand
of.
what it was, but they understood the game was special.
But what I'm
So
saying is when you have that incentive, and even that I don't think is that enough, or at least recognize, because like listen, the Indiana Pacers were in the finals. I think people already forgot about that because not a lot of people cared.
no, they were. Yeah,
I don't.
people remember that. I think people remember that.
Well, I'm saying right now, I don't think a lot of people like really care about it now. I'm worried about are the Pacers winning a championship right now? The Lakers, they didn't they lose like 8 games or something after that? No one, I
Wait,
don't think they really
this is
cared.
also like 3 months ago.
That's what I'm
This is
saying.
quite some time ago. It's not supposed to be something that we talk about for the next 3 months. It's supposed to be something we enjoy in the moment, and then they enjoy in the moment. Players play hard in the moment, which they did. It was again more. It was the most entertaining basketball we watched all season long, and it worked out, and it was fun. And we got to joke about LeBron winning another Mickey ring for a while, right? But
Exactly, it's a Mickey. It doesn't matter.
that's
That's what I'm
okay.
saying.
We talked
It
about
doesn't
this. It
matter.
doesn't have to matter in terms of 10 years down the line. It just it matters for the moment. It matters. Okay, you won these. We're not going 2 months later. No Pacers fan is going 2 months later, unironically saying, "Hey, we won the NCAA tournament, right?" No, that's not what it is. It's just a way to make good basketball be played, and
But
it
how do
did.
you find a way? But how do you find a way to make it better for now? What we're referring to the All Star game. It's
Yeah,
been like what 2 days, 3 days. I
yeah.
don't care who won anything. I forgot who won the 3-point contest. Was it Dame?
Bingo.
Maybe I forgot. I don't care because I don't think a lot of people care about that.
I don't know if there's a way to. I don't know if people have to care that much. It's just kind of a fun all star thing. When it comes to TV ratings, you want more people to care, but I don't think it's the end of the world if it kind of fades off a little bit or isn't the biggest thing in the
Well, I
world.
think it's
The
the.
NFL was
I
totally
think it's.
fine with the flag football Pro Bowl.
Did you watch that?
It was stupid. I didn't watch
The
it.
flag football.
I didn't watch it, but
Because That's the
It's
thing. I
something.
think we're at the end of. I think we're at the end of we're debating if we're even going to be able to watch it anymore.
We might not. There's no point. I did not watch it. I watched after highlights and stuff. And I think at the end of the day, the NFL and NBA gets more value from being able to post all these clips on social media from it than
Just drop my pen.
actually airing it on TV, which is just the way of the world now. It's a lot easier to take the All-Star game, make a bunch of digital packages, make a bunch of YouTube highlights, make a bunch of Twitter videos. That's more valuable than airing the game. But you don't get those funny moments with the players. You don't get all that stuff if you don't do something with it.
Do
For the
you
Pro
think?
Bowl, I didn't watch it, but I saw clips of it for weeks.
Do you think that the All Star game should be moved towards the end of the season, like the NFL is with the Pro Bowl game?
Well, now keep it at the end of the year because, or keep it at where it is because you need. This is a sport that needs an All-Star break because there's 82 games, so there's a long season. You need that week off in the middle where everybody gets time to just kind of relax, have fun. If I would not mind a mid-season All-Star break in the NFL. I would do that because
Ain't
you
that
need
just a
this.
bye week?
I'm fine with giving teams. I want teams to have 2 bye weeks. So why
Oh
don't
yeah,
we
we
do
only did talk
midseason?
about that. Yeah,
With the way how many games there are. Yeah, you kind of need an All Star break, Joel. At this point, move the Pro
they're
Bowl to
not
the middle of
actually.
the year. Why not?
A lot of these guys aren't actually playing 82 games though.
Right. No, they're not. But I mean, they still play the 40 games before it, or whatever, however many games there are before this. They're still playing a lot of games. They still travel with teams. It's still difficult. That's why they get paid so much money. I think also moving the NFL Pro Bowl to the middle of the year keeps Patrick Mahomes in it, right? We want to see the stars. Do we want to see Gardner Minshew? I don't know. So beats me. But how about stuff that actually matters, right? Where guys are going to play next year? Free agency, the tags, things are going on, Joel. It's very interesting. This is going to be one of the more interesting free agencies, I think. Um, you have
You know,
not
it's funny.
really, yeah,
Every single year where I look at the free agency, class, and I'm like, this is gonna be boring.
yeah.
Like this is gonna be boring. Every single time I say that, something just drops where it's like, what the hell? Like,
Something
and then
happens,
like
yeah.
it becomes like the most interesting offseason like ever. And you're like, oh my god, this is like the best free agency like I've ever
It was
seen.
cool.
Like
And
last
then,
year was Aaron Rodgers, that whole story.
yeah,
Because everyone was debating, like, oh, is he gonna leave? I don't know. Is he actually gonna leave? I don't know. And then it happened, and everyone was like kind of underwhelmed because we were talked about it like 2 months prior. But
yeah,
still,
it was the Jets.
I think like when you look at free agency, especially this year, yeah, there's a lot of big names that I think are just gonna get franchise tagged. But
Yeah,
I think there's gonna be a couple guys who don't, and we're gonna be very surprised by that.
it's going to be very interesting. I think this is because you have a lot of actual big names. That's the thing. You have big names this time. There's not just, oh, guy that you think is just a lifelong Panther is just getting franchise tagged. Now, there's stuff actually going on this year. You have Kirk Cousins happening. I mean, Chris Jones could go somewhere. Daniil Hunter, who knows if they're going to franchise tag him? I know there's a couple guys that we really want to talk about. I'm going to start Joel, or I'll let you start, right? With your guy, with your New York Giants. Saquon Barkley is a pretty big topic of discussion when it comes to NFL free agency. And it's a really interesting running back free agency class. So we'll start with Saquon Barkley. Do the Giants want to keep him? Does Saquon still want to be a Giant at this point? What do you do with Saquon Barkley, Joel?
See, here's the thing, and I don't know if you necessarily would agree with this. I don't think that Saquon Barkley is the most important free agent on the Giants roster right now.
All right.
I don't think he is. I think the most important person to keep is Xavier McKinney. I think McKinney
Fair.
is 100% the main priority for me. And I looked at, like PFF stats or whatever. Like he was ranked in the second half of the year. He was ranked as the fourth best safety in the NFL. And now he's a free agent. Like he is 100% the guy I'm trying to re-sign right now. But when we're talking about Saquon Barkley, here's the thing. And I was saying this about him last year. I was content with him leaving last year. Okay. Last free agency, when they were talking about like, oh, is he gonna resign? Is he gonna this? Is he gonna franchise tag him? Whatever the case is gonna be. I'm like, if he leaves, he leaves. If he doesn't, well then he'll stick around. He might get hurt again, but we're gonna just have to see where it goes because I don't think the Giants are gonna win a lot of games this year, and they ended up winning like 5. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, well, this is like almost exactly what I said was gonna happen, regardless if he re-signed with us or not. Like, I don't think, and this is a Giants fan talking here. I don't think he's that much of a difference maker as people want him to think as people think he is. Like, yeah, he puts up great stats. Yeah, he gets touchdowns. It doesn't matter when you're getting blown out by 20. Doesn't really matter. Like, I think Saquon Barkley, I think he's a good back. Okay. I think you put that guy on the Ravens, you put him on the Texans or something like that, they're automatically going to be, playoff team for the next, 5 years. Like, they're going to be a great team. But if they're not, if they not already are. But I'm looking at Saquon with this team right now. I don't look at it as a scenario where it's like, oh my God, you need to have Saquon Barkley. Why do you need him if you're winning 5 games?
Yeah.
Why do you need him? I don't understand. I don't get it. Why don't you take this money that, first of all, and I'm never gonna let people forget this because people think that it's just the Giants' fault. The New York Giants offered Saquon Barkley more money annually than Derrick Henry makes, and he said no. At that point, you want to walk, just walk. Like at that point, like listen, don't say that we're not trying to give you money. We are trying to give you money. We like I think the only person that he would have gotten paid more than was like Christian McCaffrey. Like
And
at
that's an
that
absurd
point,
deal.
like come on. That's the only person that's making more than you and you're saying no to that? Okay, like if you want to leave, just say that. Just say you want to leave, okay? Because I'm not gonna break the bank for you, and I shouldn't be giving you this much money anyway. And you're saying no to that. Enter free agency, okay? At this point, I don't think it's worth the trouble. I like Saquon as a person. I think he's a great guy. I like the dudes that are cool, calm, collected. They don't make a lot of noise. I like those guys, and I think Saquon is one of those guys.
He
But
is.
especially when it comes to this scenario, it's like, look, just say you want to leave. Like, stop beating around the bush. You clearly don't want to be here. I think you should have left last year, if anything. This year does not make that much of a difference to me. So I don't see the point in having a Saquon Barkley if we're just gonna win 5, 6 games every year. I don't see the point in it.
So there's kind of it's kind of a statement more so on the state of the Giants rather than it is on, okay, how good is Saquon Barkley for your team? I think Saquon Barkley wants to be a Giant. I don't think the Giants want him for that price tag. I think that's the problem. And Saquon has fought tooth and nail, and he's going to try to get that money from New York. I think if the perfect scenario is for Saquon is he gets the money from New York, but if another team will offer him the money, he'll go take the money. But he wants to go get it in New York. He wants to be a Giant. He wants to break all the records. He's a local kid, so he wants to do that. And he's around his family. He gets to be around the Penn State guys and all that stuff. It's good for Saquon. Yes, you want to win, but again, I think he wants to win in New York or New Jersey. So that's where that is. I think it'd be beneficial for him to go somewhere else. You go to the Chargers, the Ravens, the Texans, wherever. And especially if they're going to offer that money, I don't think it'd be smart for those teams to give you that much money because I'm not very adamant about paying running backs to me. Saquon is a game changer, and he did account for what 30% of a lot of your explosive plays over there in New York. But if that is your offense, you have bigger problems. It's not, oh, Saquon carries our offense. No, it's you have a bad offense if your running back is the main driving force.
Thank you.
You need to go figure out the offensive line. You need to go figure out your receivers. You need to go figure out a lot of issues on this team. And if anything, a great defense can carry you pretty far in the postseason. If anything, if you get a good quarterback that gets hot. So it's not Saquon isn't valuable. It's that the Giants stink. That's the
They don't.
problem.
Yeah,
Get
they have no
Saquon to
business
a team
having
that
him.
doesn't stink, and he'll be utilized better in a more efficient way instead of just being thrown the ball when every single play. Instead of the every play being ran, okay, Saquon's your first option. Saquon's this, Saquon's that. Yeah, because you don't have anybody else to go to in this moment.
You know what's
So
funny about the
it's
Giants too?
yeah, let
Like,
Saquon do what he
just
does.
just 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 really quickly, when we talk about the Giants, one of the sneaky things about the Giants that I don't think a lot of people recognize, their defense is actually pretty good.
It's
Outside of
young.
like outside of corner, their defense is actually pretty loaded.
Yeah, and they
Like
just picked up a
they
good
got
corner. They
got
got Banks. Banks is they're
like
building a corner room.
they got good guys. It's just that their offense is so bad that they're out there for like not even a minute, and the defense has to go right back out there that they get
Yeah,
exhausted by like the third quarter.
yeah.
Like that's the problem with the Giants, and that's why I'm looking at Xavier McKinney. I'm saying, okay, he's the most important piece. I want to keep him because if the defense sucks now, then we're gonna be talking about the Giants getting the #1 pick next year. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be terrible. But right now, looking at Saquon Barkley, is he the guy that I'm like, oh, we need to keep him in order to win games? No, no. We need to go get more offensive linemen, more guards. We got to figure out what the hell's going on with Evan Neal that he can't see straight. We got to make sure
Yeah.
why. We got to find wide receivers. We got to develop these young guys that we've had forever now. You know, we got to make sure that we know what we're doing offensively. Until we do that, we're not winning games.
You
And
got to find a way to get Joe Alt.
if that's the case, listen, go draft a running back if you're that desperate to get a running back. Go draft one. Don't they have like 2 second-round picks this year? You can't use one of them on a running back and you save so much more money.
It's a
Come
rough
on now.
class. It's a rough class for running
Hey,
backs.
I thought many years were rough classes, and then Damian Pierce came out of nowhere, and then I see all these guys that come out of nowhere.
Right.
Like there's gems you could find that don't
Well,
perform well in
the
college.
problem is the Giants don't have a good scheme to develop one of those running backs to make him look good. So that's the other issue with that team.
Yeah.
They're just force feeding running backs at this point. So my question to you: are the Giants drafting a quarterback at 5, or are they trading
Or
up? Right? Is
you
your
mean you
first
mean
round pick going to be a quarterback? Because that
no.
changes things.
No, no, no,
Because
I don't see it.
if it's not, let's or tag and trade Saquon if you can, right? Or find a way to get Saquon, get value out of Saquon if
See,
you
here's
can.
I feel like I'm contradicting myself from what I said like earlier, like a couple days ago, because I think you saw in our group chat, I sent a mock trade that showed like it showed the Bears trading the #1 pick to the Giants for
Yeah,
like all these firsts or whatever. And I'm like, I would just die if the Giants actually did that. And I'm just like, okay, well, here's the thing. If the quarterback is Caleb Williams,
yeah, you
which
go
is
get
not
him.
going to happen, which is not going to happen. But if it was Caleb Williams, okay, I get it. It's like, okay, I understand why you want to move off Daniel. But unless it's not him, go get a wide receiver, please. Go get Malik Neighbors. Go get whoever. I don't care if Marvin Harrison drops. I don't think he will, but if he does, take him. Get a wide receiver. I look at the Giants right now, and any quarterback that's going to be behind that offensive line, if it doesn't improve, it's going to die. Okay,
Yeah,
it's going to die. They're not going to do well. And it doesn't matter. Listen, I think if they really want to pull another Daniel Jones, they'll draft Bo Nix at 6. Like, that's probably what they're going to end up doing. But I look at what they're trying to do right now. I don't think this centers around, oh, let's go bring another quarterback into this room. If anything, I think they're going to get a veteran quarterback, a guy like Tannehill, who's a free agent, maybe bring back Tyrod Taylor, who actually performed a lot better than Daniel did for a good amount of the year. Like, I don't know what that would entail, but I think free agency is the way to go for quarterbacks. I don't think they're going to draft a guy. I
right.
think they should have. It's going to be Caleb. That's
Yeah.
about it, though.
So that was I think Drake May is pretty solid too. So
He's okay.
this
I
was
like him.
my point was if I have a young quarterback, obviously offensive line is priority number 1. But if I don't get a quarterback and I'm just rolling a veteran out there, you offensive line priority number 1, and then you get defensive guys. You get this. If I have a young quarterback, he needs a weapon. So I think you franchise tag Saquon if your game plan is to draft Jaden Daniels. I think you franchise tag Saquon in that scenario because that young quarterback, yes, they need an offensive line, and you should go get that priority. But they're not going to succeed without weapons, and they don't have that in the receiver room. But they have an opportunity to get that out of Saquon as a franchise tag. So me personally, I would go and franchise tag Saquon in this scenario if you're drafting Jaden Daniels, and then the year after you can do whatever you want. But
I
every
think
year
New England's
franchise
taking
tag.
him.
I no, I think they'll take. They might take Joe Alt. I don't know if they'll go quarterback. I think maybe they'll trade up for Drake May if that's a possibility.
I told you, that's my favorite player in this entire draft, Joe Alt.
You know what it
That's
is?
my guy right.
It's like when
That's my
Quentin
guy right
Nelson.
there.
It's like when Quentin Nelson was in
That's
the draft,
exactly who I'm seeing. That's exactly who I'm
but
seeing.
he
Is Joe
fell.
Alt.
He slid. when
A
in that
little.
draft, Quentin Nelson is the best player. Imagine if the Giants took him at 2. So that
Oh my god!
imagine
Don't
what
do
this
that to
team
me.
would
Oh my
be.
god! They'd
But
have an offensive line.
that's what you can do. That's what this is. And the team that always kind of works out, right? The Browns, they work out with Baker. Giants made the playoffs with Saquon, I guess. Um, Sam Darnold, sure. Denzel Ward all right. So it's going to be interesting. But let's move on to the other teams.
So when it comes to teams, right? I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right. This team has like 5 guys. Good restaurant. They got 5 guys that I think are all difference makers in this free agency class. Like I'm looking at Antoine Winfield. I'm looking at Mike Evans. I'm looking at Baker Mayfield. I'm looking at Levante David, and I'm looking at Devin White. If they lose even just one of these guys, that's like scary for this team.
Yeah,
That's
catastrophic.
that's bad. That's bad. Like all these guys are arguably your best players, and to not have at least one of them is gonna be crazy. That's why I'm looking at guys like Mike Evans who could get a bag, Baker Mayfield who could get a bat. All these guys can. That's why like when we're talking about like interesting free agency, like this is what makes it. Like
Yeah.
one of these guys are not gonna get signed, probably more. Baker Mayfield is a starting quarterback. Mike Evans, Mr. Consistent, has 1,000-yard receiving like every single year, and he could be a New England Patriot. Like we don't talk about stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
And guys like guys like Devin White, I think Devin White is just like a big name, you know.
He's a big name,
That's
but
really
they
all
were
I think.
kind of phasing him out already, even in the playoffs.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like, yeah,
So
I think
if
he's just kind of.
he is I think he's gone no matter what. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
he
think.
wants to be in Tampa. I don't think Tampa wants him. So if
But
there's a
we've
guy you're going to get
seen,
rid of, Devin White's gone.
but we've seen peak Devin White though before,
We have. I mean,
and
he was a
that
big
guy,
piece of why they won the Super Bowl.
yeah, and that guy
But
was one of the best linebackers in the league.
yeah,
That
he's up
guy
there.
is
But
the
again, they weren't
peak
using
Devin
him.
White.
They weren't using him.
Yeah,
Right? They got good work out of Yaya Diaby. They got good work out of other guys on that team. That of Levante David, who's definitely
yeah,
coming back. So I think what's really going to happen with Tampa, I see Devin White and Mike Evans being gone, and they'll probably bring back Levante David and Baker. I think if there's a
yeah,
lock, Baker's coming back. I don't see a world where they let Baker walk. They have cap issues because of the Brady era, but they're able to sign Baker. They're going to sign Baker. Okay, they
I
have to.
also think that they're gonna franchise tag Winfield. There's already been reports that like they're
Yeah, they're gonna.
debating
Yeah,
franchise tagging. I'm like they're gonna do it.
yeah, because he's more important than Mike Evans at this point. And the Mike Evans situation to me is weird because I remember at the beginning of the year he was saying, "Hey, if a contract's not done by this point, I'm not coming back at all." And the contract wasn't done, but now there's a whole topic of, oh, he wants to stay in Tampa, he wants to sign a contract, he wants to do this. So it depends what the price and length of the contract is going to be because Mike Evans is 31 years old. Yes, Mr. Consistent. Yes, all of that. But do you want to sign him to a 5-year deal with a lot of money and be paying him so much money at age 35, 36,
Well,
37?
here's the thing, and I don't think Mike Evans even expected it. They made a run in the playoffs,
They did,
right?
yeah.
They
That was a
they
big
made a
part of it.
run.
That was
Like
a
they
big
were
part of it.
competitive.
It was low
Like as
expectations for
I
Baker Mayfield.
I
We'll
would
see.
understand if this was like not a good team, like the Giants. I would
Yeah.
like at that point I would get it. But you guys were 2 games out from a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like they weren't like that's not crazy to say that they could have beaten the Lions, you
They
know?
competed.
Like
They
that was
competed that game.
yeah, they competed in that game. And who knows what would have happened against San Fran. So at that point, I'm like, listen, this is a good team.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a bad team. If you're gonna lose guys, you're gonna lose guys. But at this point, I say we run it back for the most part.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we try to run it. Like, I want to give Baker Mayfield the bag. Okay. That's the guy. I want to keep him.
Gotta do it.
Everyone knew he was good. And he found a home and he found a home in Tampa. So bring back Baker. Baker needs weapons. I don't think Chris Godwin's enough. I don't think Kate Otten, I don't think it's enough.
No.
We got to bring back the guy he's familiar with, guy he's already spent a year with, Mike Evans. And as you said, I don't think he wants to leave. Okay. If we could work out some sort of 3-year deal, maybe a 4-year deal, I don't know about a 5, but
No.
if we could work something along those lines and just like have the money guaranteed, I think he comes back. But I think this team is too good to just get gutted. You know, I
They are.
don't think. Yeah, I just don't think that's possible for them to do.
But the problem is again, they have a lot of cap spaces, right? Because they have a lot of cap space issues because of what they did with Tom
The Brady
Brady,
year.
the Brady era, right? They have a lot going on there. So they mathematically probably can't run it back with everybody. They can do a lot. They have draft picks. They can make some moves. They can do what they need to do. Big part of it is 13 almost $13.5 million going to Russell Gage. That's a big part. He got hurt
Why is he on the team? I'm about to say, like I,
because they were just signing because Brady wanted him, right? They were signing everybody, and he contributed to that Super Bowl. He contributed to that Super Bowl, but there's some contract issues here. So at some point, they've got to make some sacrifices. They've got to cut. They got to figure something out. But if you can bring back Mike Evans, you have to. You really have to do it. Whatever cap moving, making fun of it, messing with it, you got to do to bring back Baker, Mike, whatever, you have to find a way to do it. Whether you backload a lot of the money to later on or whatever, again, figure it out because you're in a bad division. You can make the playoffs next year, especially now that Baker's got a year under this system. Yes, new offensive coordinator and all that, but I can see it getting interesting because let's say the Falcons get good. So what do you do then? Because they only won 9 games. The Bucks only won 9 games. That doesn't win the
I
division
was gonna
a lot of the time.
I was gonna say, speaking of Atlanta, I know there's like a little bit of a transition here, but like just because we have a good amount of like interesting veteran quarterbacks here, and I
Yeah,
think not Tampa, sorry, Atlanta could be in contention for a lot of these vets. Where do you think a guy like Russell Wilson will end up, who's technically not a free agent yet,
he's
but
not.
like, but like, where do you? I don't see him going back to Denver. Like, I just
But
don't
no,
see that happening.
he's not going to Denver. I think the big one has been Pittsburgh that they've been aligning him to is the Steelers
Yeah,
and Mike Tomlin. Give him a quarterback, let him do what he does there, and no matter what, the Broncos are going to have to eat all the money. Basically, they're going to eat. If they cut him, they're going to eat most of the money. Um,
Kirk Cousins, like,
Kirk is interesting too because he's coming off that Achilles. Do you franchise tag a guy that's coming off a major injury like that? And for
I
Minnesota,
was gonna deb
yeah,
I was debating giving him a 2-year deal.
I think Minnesota, to me, what Minnesota needs to do is a full-fledged rebuild. Blow it up. Let everybody walk because they had a year where they played really well. They almost made the Super Bowl and they did their thing, right? But they had issues. They had a lot of issues. And they had lost a lot of their defense one year. They haven't been able to recover from it. And at this point, they're not good. They had a good stretch at the end of the year. But the Vikings are not good. You have a chance now to maybe start new, maybe start fresh, draft a quarterback. But I think the Vikings need to do a full-fledged rebuild. So Kirk Cousins should not be on the Vikings next year. He loves Minnesota. I
I
think he wants to be in
remember
Minnesota, but I wouldn't franchise that guy coming off an Achilles.
I remember an episode that we did months ago where we were talking about like what, the Vikings should do. And I brought up, they should trade Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Like that's really what they should do, right? And a few months later, to this day, I still think they should trade him. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, I saw a report a few days ago. Now it's a rumor, but there was word that, Jefferson, he's eligible for an extension, right? This
Yes.
offseason, right? They're debating extending him. And I'm like, you're debating extending the best wide receiver in the league who wants to play for your trash franchise? At that point, I don't want to be here. You better trade me. There's no way you're actually debating this.
He's got
There's
to
no
go.
way you're debating this.
Well, because he
That's
wants the bag. He
you
said
better give me
he
you
said
better give me
basically
the
in
best.
quotes. He said basically in quotes. People were asking. There was the media row Vegas stuff. They would ask Justin Jefferson, did you want a lot of money? He basically said, someone asked him, "Are you going to break the bank?" And Justin Jefferson said, "Yeah." So,
Yeah.
but if I'm Minnesota and if Kirk is walking, because that was part of the debate, right? That's more so of a debate if you're bringing back Kirk,
Oh yeah,
if Kirk is going to be
he
there.
wants to know what they're doing with Kirk Cousins first, then he'll make his decision.
Exactly. And if I'm Justin Jefferson, I don't want to be in Minnesota. I want to get out of Minnesota. Um, it's a night. I don't think it's a bad franchise, so to speak, because they've been always been competitive. They've always been good. And they're not really a team that you want to see rebuild for a super long time because again, they're always good. But at this point, what do you even do? What is there to even play for here? They're not. They're the third best team in their own division. Got a chance to be the worst team in their division, depending on what the Bears do. If there's a time to rebuild, it's now. You when you want to rebuild is when all of the other teams in your division are playing really well and going through their peaks. You don't if that's when you want to rebuild, then get good because eventually these peaks are going to end, and you want to kind of be on top when the peaks are ending. That's what a lot of other teams doing. You look at like the Eagles are good at the right time, the Cowboys are good at the right time because the Giants and the Commanders are not good at football. The Chiefs are good at the right time because the rest of their division is not good, right? So if I'm in those divisions, I want to rebuild, and it's what the Raiders are kind of doing. Minnesota needs to rebuild, so that's where I go. I think a big piece that nobody talks about is Derrick Henry. By the way,
I think
he's going to
I
go
think
somewhere,
see, here's the thing. I think it's just because he's old. I think that's really all it is.
but he was still a great running back in
Yeah, I mean,
Tennessee.
I think he's still good, but I don't even remember his name. What's his the guy that they had Sharp? Is that
Tajay
was that his
Spears, yeah,
name?
he's young, he's fast,
Or
he's
Spear?
explosive, yeah,
I'm thinking of Tajay Sharp. Tajay
yeah. What
Spears.
a legend, Tajay
That
Sharp.
y I'm looking at him. I'm like, okay, if you're using him over Derrick Henry more, like at that point, it's like, okay, it seems inevitable that like his decline is here, you know? So I
Yeah,
feel like wherever he goes, let's say it's Baltimore, right? Because we always talk about him in Baltimore because Baltimore
right.
just like needs that primary back. If you're getting the dog days with Derrick Henry, I mean, I feel like you're lucky if he gets like what he had this year, 800 yards or like 900 yards, something like that.
Where
I
are
think
the
you're
old
lucky if you
numbers?
I think you're lucky if you get that again. Because
He
I
had
just don't
1,100 yards.
see he had 1100.
He had 1,100 yards and averaged 4.2 yards a carry and had 12 touchdowns.
I think you're lucky if you get that from him. I think you're lucky if you crack 1,000,
That's
especially when
fine
you.
though, to me.
But I don't know if it's necessarily fine. I mean, I feel like Gus Edwards is perfectly capable of doing something as along those lines. If you're not using three primary running backs and your quarterback himself is a running back,
Then
no offense.
Why did Gus get 4 carries in the AFC Championship game?
Oh, they just changed their game plan completely.
If I had Derrick Henry, I'm not changing my game plan to the point where I'm putting up 7 points in the AFC Championship game.
That's a whole nother story because that was ridiculous.
That was a
I
whole
was
different. There,
I was the one
yeah,
saying that they should have been running the ball way more than they were. When they were running the ball, they were winning the game. I'm
yeah.
just saying, like they were playing good football when they were running the ball.
Also, Derrick Henry in his age 29 season, or 28, whatever it is, rushed for 15. He's coming off 1,500 yards. So there's also that aspect to it that he's still. I mean, he was rushing for 1,000 yards when he was not good, or when he was kind of younger. So you're kind of getting both with Derrick Henry. Yes, he's 30. He's a 30-year-old running back. And I know that is the death age for running back. It's like running backs are like bees, right? They die really quickly, but he's still Derrick Henry. He still has the same ball carrier vision. He's still the giant that he is. He's not going to the Giants. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you should sign Derrick Henry to become your lead back and give him the ball 30 times a game. But when he's a guy that you can put in the backfield, he's an impact player. And if you're on the goal line, you're giving the ball to Derrick Henry. So, I mean, you look at a team like Houston, right? I know we threw him in with Saquon. Have him, yes, Dameon Pierce is probably going to get a bulk of the carries on first, second down, but Derrick Henry, I mean, if that's a 1-2 punch, good luck to the rest of the NFL. So
Right.
that's kind of where I see him going. I'm not saying that you should the Titans were basing their offense around Derrick Henry for years, but Titans offense looked all right when it came to running the ball, running screens when they had the Tajay Spears, Derrick Henry duo. Imagine that with a quality offense and not, a mess at quarterback and a poor wide receiver room that didn't perform as well. They have good players, but they don't have that stud. Um, so if you put Derrick Henry in a different team, I mean, yeah, 1,100 yards. If you could get a rusher for the Baltimore Ravens to go for 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns, that's awesome. So I'm cool with signing Derrick Henry if I'm one of those teams. That's just me though.
I mean, I think It's funny how we always end up talking about running backs. I feel like we do this every year. You
Yeah.
know, we're just like, oh, should you resign them? Should you sign him? Should you do this with him? And then it's like, does it ever work out? Like, think about that. Like
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
when we're talking about 30-year-old, like late 20-year-old, I think the last conversation we had, like, like seriously about it was like Le'Veon Bell. And
Yeah.
I don't,
And
I don't even know
I was very not for signing Le'Veon Bell that deal.
like
That was,
Melvin Gordon, when he went to Denver and everyone was like, "Oh my God, like
yeah.
he's going to Denver," and then like he got cut like
Yeah, it was really bad.
not too long later. Todd Gurley,
There are just some. The thing is, though, right? The guys that you said are not Hall of Famers. Derrick Henry is a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he is.
So I think it's just this is a different, a little bit different than Melvin Gordon getting older and all that. Derrick Henry is those guys weren't putting up 1,100 yards at age 29, 30. They just weren't. So it's a whole different situation with Derrick Henry, at least to me, what I see. And maybe I'm
See,
living in the past.
you should know this, but my favorite Adrian Peterson was not Minnesota Adrian Peterson. It was Washington Redskins Adrian Peterson. That was
Shout
my
out to
favorite
the
Adrian.
Washington AD, 1,000-yard rusher, by the way.
That was my
Um,
favorite. That was my favorite because when we in our fantasy football league, that was the year that I traded for him,
yes,
and he was my RB1. He was amazing
he
for
was
me.
playing very well. He was a hooper, right?
And how old was he at that point? Like he had to be in his 30s.
33, like
Yeah, he had
34.
it. That was
So okay,
awesome
that's
to
my point
watch.
with Derrick Henry. He's
That was
30.
awesome to watch.
He's 30. Put him in the right offense, he'll cook. Um, I guess yeah, we did talk about offense a lot. Let's mention some defensive guys, right? Leonard Williams is gonna be pretty good. The big one I'm watching is Chris Jones. Because
Come on, you got to go back to Kansas City. You have to go back to Kansas
well,
City.
he did just hop on the mic and say that he was going to be here this year, the next year, and the year after.
Come
But we
on.
also saw Bruce Brown say that with the Nuggets, but that's a very different situation. If you're the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, I guess you'll use a tag on him, but you also want L'Jarius Sneed back too. So that's going to be the Chiefs have very young and electrifying defense, but Chris Jones is the reason they won the Super Bowl. And any big
How
play defensively, Chris Jones.
how about L'Jarius Sneed?
Yeah, L'Jarius Sneed. That's going to be interesting.
Like I think that's a little more interesting than Chris Jones, in my opinion. I
Yeah, I
think.
think.
I mean, I like Chris Jones a lot, but when I look at L'Jarius Sneed, I'm like, wherever that man goes, he is the corner one. He is literally the corner
Yes.
one. He's covering the wide receiver ones, and I thought he was a huge difference maker, locking down Debo Samuel in the Super Bowl, especially after he got hurt. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
wherever he if I'm L'Jarius Sneed, yeah, sure, I would love to come back to Kansas City. I want the bag. I want the team that's going to give me the most money. That's all I care about.
And he will. He'll get like a Revis contract. This
Yeah.
guy's phenomenal. So I think it's going to be tough for them to bring back both. At this point, if you're Kansas City and you know L'Jarius Sneed wants the bag, and you have some good young corners, and you have had success drafting young corners, it's one of those situations where I would say everybody in Kansas City wants to bring back L'Jarius Sneed. Everybody. But it might be one of those situations where you have to let him walk because he wants so much money that you won't be able to build. The best part about the Chiefs is not they have a really good corner, is that they have a whole defense and they draft well. So
Yeah.
you could just kind of focus on, okay, I think Chris Jones is more important than Sneed, in my opinion. So you bring back Chris Jones, let Sneed walk, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You have good corners, you have good secondary, you have young linemen, you have young linebackers. You're going to have to re-sign some of these guys anyway. So some of those players are going to be casualties, and Sneed might be that casualty. Although I wouldn't be against
I
it if
think
they signed him, obviously.
I think overall though, like especially when you look at, like I said before, like looking at this class, there's a lot of guys where I'm like, he's gonna stick with the team. He's gonna stick there. He's gonna stick there.
Yeah.
But every year there's always that glimpse chance. What if they don't tag him? You know?
What if?
Does he does he go back to that team now? Does he
Right.
what happens now? Now everything's all screwed up. Like what happened? Now what do we
Yeah.
do?
What if T. Higgins doesn't get franchise tagged?
Oh, if he doesn't get franchise tagged, I would put money on it that he would go to Tennessee. I would put money on it.
Be interesting. It'll be really interesting. him in Tennessee.
Like his coach is there now.
Yeah.
The like his coach is there. That's why I'm like, I think that's a huge difference maker if he goes to Tennessee. That's a huge difference maker for Will Levis as well. Like that
Yeah.
whole team gets upgraded if
No,
you
they
get
do.
T Higgins.
And I think that they'll be fine, that team. They still have to build. So I mean, that's not a bad offense, right?
I I like what they're doing in Tennessee. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be honest with you.
I
Even
don't hate it.
even if they get rid of, which I mean they are getting rid of Derrick Henry, but
Yeah.
like I'm looking at this, I'm like, Will Levis, he showed a spark,
Right.
run it back, see what he can do. Let's see what happens, and
And
then
for
get him another weapon.
Tennessee, you don't have to win now because again, you look at the teams in your division, right? Jacksonville's playing well. Houston's playing well. They will continue to play well. The Colts are starting to play well. The Titans are in a good phase in their rebuild where they're kind of a couple steps behind them.
Right.
So once those teams start to have issues of, oh, do we bring back this guy? The Colts are having it right now with Michael Pittman, and we'll talk about him next.
Yeah.
They're having those issues, and the Titans are kind of just slowly building up a young team. Tajay Spears, Will Levis looks good. They're getting young linemen in there, so I think the Titans are going to be just fine. I like what they're doing. Good.
I mean,
Joel,
yeah. Like what you said, like when I look at teams that are rebuilding, I look at their young pieces,
yeah,
I look at the pieces that they have that are their quote unquote best players, and I'm like, with Tennessee, are they a bad team? Yeah, they're not great, but especially this year, they got the seventh overall pick. Okay. I think they're gonna go get an offensive lineman, go get Will Levis some protection. Like I
yeah,
was getting sacked a lot. Okay. I want to make sure that he's gonna be okay. I want to make sure he has another weapon, maybe. I I don't I don't see how you could possibly screw this up to the point where you're any worse next year,
right. They can take risks.
Yeah, you can take risks. Go ahead.
Yeah, whatever risk you want to take, go take it because you're still going to probably not be that good anyway, and you're not a contender. There's no move the Titans can make to be a contender. So take risks. Take a young guy. See if he hits. That's what they're doing with Will Levis right now. If he doesn't work, okay, you're gonna have a high draft pick next year anyway. So give it a shot. Why not? Sticking with the AFC South though, Michael Pittman. I'm just gonna keep it simple. What does he want? Give it to him. What does he want? Give it to him. The
I totally
Colts need him.
for for like a good second, I forgot that you were a Colts fan. I'm like, oh
You
yeah,
do.
Michael Pittman. Yeah,
Every episode you forget. You forget every
yeah,
episode.
because it's just weird. We live in New Jersey, and you're a Colts fan. I forget. Okay.
Listen, I was 10 and Peyton Manning was cool, and then Andrew Luck was cool. All right. I had to do it. I had to do it.
But your guy Pittman though is a free agent.
He is. And I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if he is coming back. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't come back. But if he doesn't come back, I will be very mad. However, you need Kenny Moore. Julian
I
Blackman
I
got hurt
had
last year. You need him, but you need Big Pitt.
I had him in fantasy football last year. He was pretty good for my team. I ain't gonna lie to you. He
He's
was
a
pretty good.
dog.
He was a
He's a
dog.
dog. I have him too in Dynasty. I want to be able to, if I'm going to trade him, I want to be able to use the Colts fan tax on people. That's important to me. It's important. But the Colts, they need weapons. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's, he's got money. And Anthony Richardson, he needs his weapons. Obviously, him and Josh Downs had a really good connection. They have a really great tight end room, one of the best in the entire NFL, just in terms of totality. Obviously, they don't have the star power, but they just have a lot of really good tight ends. So Anthony Richardson has the weapons. And I think that even if you do re-sign Michael Pittman, go get another one in the draft somewhere. There's plenty. Go get more because Isaiah McKenzie is not going to stick around as long as you think he is, and he's not the solution. You need that third wide receiver. Alec Pierce is good. So just round out your receiver room later in the draft, re-sign Michael Pittman, have fun, call it a day. Anthony Richardson, let him cook. You have a solid offensive line. You have a really good team. You have the best defensive line of football when they play at their best. One of the best defensive lines of football, top 5 at least. Your secondary is starting to grow. They have some good players there. Figure out the linebackers, and this is a AFC South contender for the next 10 years. But you have to start it by re-signing your best player, your best receiver at least, in Michael Pittman Jr. So they have to do it. And if they're going to tag him, tag him. Figure it out. But he needs a contract, Joel.
Also, you gotta teach Anthony Richardson how to slide. You gotta do
Yeah,
that too.
that'll happen. That'll happen. That'll happen. It'll
If
work.
he hasn't already, he needs to learn that.
You just get the shoulder fixed first. Then we'll figure out the slides. He'll be good.
I will say, like especially when it comes to the Colts, right? Like it's a good team, right? I I,
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with the Colts or anything like that, but and this is no shade at all at Anthony Richardson. Why did I like this team better when Gardner Minshew was under center? Like I actually like the team better
I'm
when
kind
Gardner
of
Minshew
with
was.
that. I don't hate that idea. I mean, they just I think it's more because Gardner Minshew was more ready than Anthony Richardson. Because I mean, obviously you had the dual threat situation. They were still playing pretty well in the first couple weeks of the year when he was healthy, but Minshew was just ready to go in and execute the offense because he was with Shane Steichen in Philly for the past 2 years
See,
before
and
that.
that's another thing. Like maybe it's just me, and I understand we're kind of going off topic here, but Gardner Minshew, that man's a starting quarterback. Okay, I don't know why
Yes,
he's being a backup here. He's a starter. That
there's just
guy's
no
really
place.
good.
There hasn't been a place for him. There hasn't been a place for him. The
That
guy made the Pro
sucks.
Bowl. Guy made the Pro Bowl.
He did make the Pro Bowl. Like, come on.
Somehow, somehow, some way, because everybody dropped out, but it's all right. Same reason Geno Smith made the Pro Bowl. What a dog!
My
What a legend of the
God.
game. The pro that's when I gave up on the Pro Bowl when I saw Gardner Minshew in the Pro Bowl. He played well though. He had a good year.
I
But
didn't even watch it.
am I going to sit here and say Gardner Minshew was one of the three best quarterbacks of the AFC last year?
Get out of here.
I don't know. I really don't know. So yes, obviously, I mean, I think it was Mahomes and Lamar dropped out, and you just had what you had. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting free agency, Joel. Any other
Yeah.
players or thoughts that you have out there on who may go where
Unless we're getting another Aaron Rodgers situation with some random quarterback star, I
or
just don't
not
see it happening. But
or
yeah, it's
not?
not gonna happen. But I think it's gonna be better than what we expect.
Yeah, it's going to be fun
Yeah.
because here's my thing: a lot of the times players just re-signing somewhere, it's boring. But if I see Chris Jones get a big deal, I'm that's going to be an exciting piece of news.
Like imagine like just totally random, just right off the top of my head. Like imagine like Chris Jones signs with the Bengals. Like
Yeah,
what?
something. Yeah,
Like
where did
where
that
did
come
that
from?
come? Where did that come from?
How'd that happen? Free
What?
agency opens in a few weeks, so it'll be fun. We'll definitely that'll definitely be our main focus. Now that we're done complaining about the All Star game, we'll definitely. There's a lot of free agency talk to have. There's a lot, so stick with the Break Panel Sports ride. All right, TikTok, IG, Twitter, all the stuff, or X. I call it Twitter. And keep it locked here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever random audio consumer site you're on. We're here. Joel, thank you so much for joining me, as always. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure, and we will see you another time. Thank you so much for taking the time out of whatever time zone you are in, whatever time it may be, whatever you may be doing. Thank you for taking the time with Break Panel Sports today. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you another time here on Break Panel Sports. Have a good one.
Goodbye.